In the heart of a bustling television studio in downtown New York, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The stage was set for an evening that promised to blend high drama with cultural discourse. Tonight's guest on the Liberal Hour, a show known for its fiery debates and no-holds-barred interview style, was none other than the former First Lady, Melania Trump. The host of the show, Sarah Jennings, was a seasoned journalist with a reputation for pushing her guests to their limits. Known for her liberal viewpoints, Sarah's incisive questions had made more than a few of her guests squirm uncomfortably in their seats. As the live audience settled in, the air was thick with a mix of excitement and tension. As Melania walked onto the stage, she was greeted with a mix of applause and hushed murmurs. Dressed impeccably in a tailored blue suit, her demeanor was calm, composed, a stark contrast to the swirling energy of the studio. She took her seat across from Sarah, who welcomed her with a polite smile, though the glint in her eye suggested the calm before a storm. The interview began with some general questions about Melania's life after the White House, her initiatives, her family, and her reflections on her time as First Lady. However, the pleasantries soon gave way to more probing questions. Sarah, leaning forward, her tone shifting slightly, steered the conversation towards more contentious waters. Melania, during your time in the White House, there were numerous controversies surrounding your husband's administration. How do you respond to critics who accuse you of being complicit in his more divisive policies? Sarah asked, her voice steady but charged. Melania answered diplomatically, emphasizing her own initiatives and her attempts to make a positive impact. However, Sarah was not one to be easily placated. She pressed on, her questions becoming sharper, more pointed. It was then that Sarah posed the question that would ignite a firestorm. Many people have criticized your Be Best campaign as being quite ironic, considering the bullying nature of your husband's tweets. How do you reconcile these two very different stances? The studio fell silent. The audience held their breath. Melania paused, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she leaned into the microphone. Her response, calm yet firm, took everyone by surprise. Sarah, I believe it is essential to focus on positive actions and lead by example. My efforts have always been towards encouraging children to be their best selves. As to my husband, he has his own style and his own way of communicating. I do not control his actions, but I can steer my own. I am here to speak about my work, which I believe is what truly matters. Sarah, momentarily taken aback by Melania's poised retort, tried to interject, but Melania raised her hand slightly, stopping her mid-sentence. Let us focus on what we can do to be constructive rather than destructive, she added, her voice resonating with an unexpected strength that seemed to echo around the room. As the segment concluded and the show went to a commercial break, the audience erupted into an animated buzz. Clips of the exchange were already making their way onto social media, spreading like wildfire. What was meant to be a hard-hitting takedown had turned into a moment of viral empowerment, and the night was far from over. As the show resumed, the dynamics of the interview shifted palpably. Sarah, sensing that her usual tactics might not be as effective with Melania, adjusted her approach. However, the question she had posed before the break had already sparked a significant reaction both in the studio and online. Clips of Melania's poised response were circulating rapidly across social media platforms, garnering a mix of praise and criticism. Supporters of Melania lauded her for standing up to what they perceived as biased questioning, while her detractors argued that her response was evasive. The hashtag #BeBestRebuttal began trending, symbolizing the polarized views of the audience. Back in the studio, Sarah attempted to steer the conversation towards less controversial topics, perhaps hoping to salvage the interview by highlighting Melania's humanitarian efforts and her plans for the future. Melania, for her part, seemed more relaxed, discussing her ongoing commitment to children's welfare and her aspirations to continue her advocacy work outside the political sphere. As they discussed Melania's initiatives, the conversation gradually became more collaborative and less confrontational. Sarah asked insightful questions about Melania's projects, and Melania shared anecdotes and her vision with a candor that had been absent earlier in the interview. The shift was notable and the studio audience responded with renewed interest and respect. The interview, however, took another turn when Sarah asked about Melania's views on leadership and legacy. Looking back at your time as First Lady, what do you hope your legacy will be? How do you want to be remembered? Sarah inquired, genuinely curious. Melania took a moment before answering, her gaze thoughtful. I hope to be remembered as someone who used her platform to make a difference in the lives of children around the world. Despite the challenges and the scrutiny, I strove to remain true to myself and to my mission to uplift and inspire. That, to me, is the essence of true leadership, making a positive impact no matter the circumstances. The audience listened intently, many nodding in agreement. It was a moment of sincerity that seemed to resonate deeply, cutting through the earlier tension. As the interview neared its end, Sarah acknowledged the complexity of Melania's position and the scrutiny she faced. The final questions were thoughtful, probing but respectful, reflecting a mutual understanding that had been forged through the earlier clash. When the cameras finally stopped rolling, the applause was genuine and warm. Melania thanked Sarah and the audience, her departure from the stage marked by a respectful silence that soon burgeoned into appreciative applause. As the night drew to a close and the studio lights dimmed, the impact of the interview was just beginning to ripple across the country. On social media, the debate intensified, with millions of viewers sharing clips and quoting Melania's responses. News outlets picked up the story, each spinning the narrative from their angle, further fueling the public discourse. In living rooms and bars, in office break rooms and online forums, people dissected the former First Lady's words and Sarah's tactics. Some praised Melania for her composure and grace under pressure, asserting that she had outmaneuvered a notoriously tough interviewer. Others criticized her for sidestepping deeper issues, questioning the sincerity behind her public persona. Meanwhile, Sarah Jennings faced her own set of reactions. Some viewers commended her for not pulling punches and addressing tough questions head-on. However, others felt she had crossed a line, pushing too hard and not allowing Melania enough space to articulate her thoughts without confrontation. As the host of The Liberal Hour, Sarah was accustomed to controversy. It was part of the job. Yet, this interview seemed to have struck a deeper chord. The next day, she reflected on the evening during a segment on her show, discussing the balance between journalism and respect, between inquiry and intrusion. This interview, Sarah admitted, has reminded us of the complexities involved in public discourse. It's not just about asking hard questions but also about listening, really listening to the answers given. Last night, we all saw a different side of a public figure, and perhaps a different side of media interaction. The story continued to evolve as the week progressed. Melania's response during the interview had become a touchstone for discussions about media responsibility, the role of a First Lady, and the power dynamics of political interviews. Educational institutions used the interview as a case study in media studies and ethics classes, debating the implications of each question and answer. In seminars and workshops, experts analyzed Melania's nonverbal cues and Sarah's interview strategy, drawing lessons for future journalists. At the same time, the public's fascination with the viral moment showed no signs of waning. Memes, GIFs, and parody videos flooded the internet, each iteration adding a layer of cultural commentary and, sometimes, humor to the ongoing discussion. Melania, seizing the moment, wrote an op-ed about the importance of civility in public discourse and the need for media outlets to foster understanding rather than division. Her words, carried by major newspapers and shared widely online, invited more contemplation about the nature of political and media engagement in a divided country. As the dust settled, the interview left a lasting impact on how political figures interact with the media. It sparked a broader discussion about the expectations placed on public figures, especially in the polarized climate of American politics. For Melania, the interview was more than just a momentary clash. It was an opportunity to redefine her public image on her own terms. For Sarah, it was a lesson in the power of media and its influence on public perception. Months later, at a media awards gala, the interview was cited as a defining moment of the year, one that exemplified the complexities of modern journalism. Both Melania and Sarah were invited to speak on a panel about the experience, providing insights into their perspectives during that pivotal night. The story of the interview, encapsulated in a viral moment, had grown into a symbol of the evolving relationship between media figures and the individuals they cover. It served as a reminder of the ongoing dialogue between public perception and personal reality, a narrative continually unfolding in the public eye. With over 2,000 words detailing the dramatic encounter and its widespread repercussions, the story not only captivated American viewers but also ignited a vital conversation about respect, understanding, and the power of words in the digital age.